Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you went in there? Or maybe you found yourself struggling to remember the name of someone you just met, or even an old friend's birthday. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Memory lapses happen to all of us. But what if I told you that there are a few sneaky habits that seem harmless, that could actually be speeding up memory loss without us even realizing it? Hi there, I'm so glad you're here. Today, we're going to talk about something incredibly important, your memory. You see, as we age, it's completely normal to experience little slips here and there. But when those slips start becoming more frequent, or when we feel like our minds are slowing down, it can be frustrating, and even a little scary. The good news is that memory loss isn't just something we have to accept. There are things we can do to protect our brains, to keep our minds sharp, and to feel more confident in our day-to-day lives. And it all starts with recognizing a few everyday habits that might be silently harming our memory. In this video, we're going to go over 4 common habits that may be making memory loss worse. They're often things we don't think twice about, but once you understand how they affect the brain, you'll see why making a few small changes can lead to big improvements in how you think, feel, and function every day. So, let's get into the first one. This one might surprise you, because it seems so harmless, but it's something so many of us do, especially after retirement. I'm talking about staying mentally idle. You know those days when you don't have much on the calendar? No puzzles, no reading, no learning, just watching TV or scrolling on a tablet for hours. It might feel relaxing in the moment, but when our brain isn't being challenged regularly, it starts to get a little lazy. Just like our muscles weaken without movement, our brain cells can slow down if they're not being put to use. And no, this doesn't mean you need to study for a test or read a textbook. It can be as simple as learning a new card game, picking up a hobby like painting or gardening, or even trying to memorize a short poem. Anything that makes your brain work a little, anything that keeps you curious and engaged, can help build what's called cognitive reserve. That's like a protective buffer for your memory, helping your brain stay resilient even as you age. I know some days it's easier to just let the hours drift by, especially if your body's feeling tired or your mood is low. But here's a little tip. Start with just 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes of reading something new, doing a crossword, or even chatting with a friend about a topic you haven't discussed in a while. It doesn't have to be fancy or hard, it just has to wake your brain up. Now let's talk about the second habit that can quietly chip away at memory over time, skipping social interaction. This is a big one, and it's something a lot of people struggle with, especially after retirement or when loved ones live far away. But our brains are wired for connection. When we spend too much time alone, our mind doesn't get the stimulation it needs from conversation, laughter, and even just the small talk we might take for granted. Loneliness isn't just a feeling, it actually has a physical impact on the brain. Studies have shown that people who experience chronic loneliness are more likely to have memory problems and even a higher risk of dementia. That's how powerful human connection is. So if you've been avoiding social situations, or you feel like your world has gotten a bit too quiet, I want you to know, it's not too late to change that. Start small, call an old friend, join a local group, or even have a friendly chat with your neighbor. Sometimes it's those little moments of connection that make the biggest difference. If getting out and about feels hard physically, consider joining an online group or having regular video calls with family. There are even community programs where volunteers check in with seniors just to talk and connect. It might feel awkward at first, but the more you engage, the more alive your brain becomes. And here's the beautiful part. When you connect with others, you're not just helping your own brain, you're giving someone else a gift, too. You might brighten their day just by showing up. And together, you're creating moments that keep your minds sharp and your spirits lifted. Before we move on, I want to ask you something. When was the last time you learned something new or had a good conversation with someone who made you think? If it's been a while, that's okay. But let that question sit with you. Let it be a gentle nudge, not a judgment, just a reminder that your mind is still full of life and potential. No matter your age, you can keep growing, learning, and remembering. Now that we've explored how mental inactivity and social isolation can quietly affect our memory, let's take a look at another habit that's just as silent, and just as powerful, a habit that's just as silent, and just as powerful. I'm talking about poor sleep. Now, I know you've probably heard people say that sleep is important, but the truth is, many folks over 60 still underestimate just how deeply sleep affects the brain, especially memory. You might think, I'm retired now, I don't need as much sleep, or I've always been a light sleeper. it's just how I am. But here's what happens behind the scenes. When we sleep, our brain goes into a kind of housekeeping mode. It clears out waste, files away memories, and strengthens the connections we've made during the day. Without that deep, restful sleep, the brain doesn't get the chance to do its most important maintenance work. So what does that mean for you? If you're regularly getting less than 6 or 7 hours of good sleep, or if you're waking up frequently during the night, your brain is missing out on precious time to restore itself. Over time, that can lead to foggy thinking, trouble remembering things, and a general sense that your mind isn't as sharp as it used to be. And it's not just about how many hours you sleep, but the quality of that sleep. Tossing and turning, waking up feeling tired, or lying awake in the middle of the night staring at the ceiling. That's your body telling you something isn't quite right. The good news? There are simple things you can do to improve your sleep starting tonight. Try sticking to a regular sleep schedule, even on weekends. Avoid heavy meals or caffeine late in the day, and create a calming bedtime routine that helps your brain wind down. That could be reading a few pages of a book, listening to soft music, or doing some light stretching. And if your room is too bright or noisy, consider blackout curtains or a white noise machine. These little changes can make a big difference. If sleep is a major struggle for you, it might be worth talking to your doctor. Sleep apnea and other conditions often go undiagnosed in older adults, and once treated, people are amazed by how much better they feel, mentally and physically. Now, let's talk about one more habit that tends to sneak into our routines without us even realizing the damage it can do. This one might be hiding in your kitchen, your living room, or even your medicine cabinet. I'm talking about a poor diet, especially a diet that's high in sugar and processed foods. You see, what we eat doesn't just affect our waistline, it has a powerful impact on how our brain works. Think of your brain like a car engine. It needs good fuel to run well. But if you keep filling it with low-quality gas, sugary snacks, salty chips, fast food, over time, the engine starts to sputter. Sugar, in particular, has been shown to interfere with memory and learning. When we eat too much of it, especially in the form of sugary drinks, baked goods, and packaged snacks, it can cause inflammation in the brain and lead to something researchers call brain fog. That cloudy, slow, forgetful feeling? Often, it's tied to what's on our plate. But here's the encouraging part. It's never too late to make a shift. You don't have to go on a strict diet or cut out everything you enjoy. Just start adding in more brain-friendly foods. Think colorful vegetables, leafy greens, berries, nuts, whole grains, and healthy fats like olive oil or avocado. Fish like salmon and sardines are packed with omega-3s, which help protect the brain. Even dark chocolate, in moderation, can give your brain a little boost. A helpful tip is to shop the outer edges of the grocery store. That's usually where the freshest foods are. And if you cook at home more often, you'll naturally cut down on processed ingredients. Cooking can even be a great mental exercise. It engages your senses, your memory, and your creativity. And don't forget to drink plenty of water. Dehydration can sneak up on us as we age, and when we're even a little dehydrated, it can affect concentration and recall. If plain water is hard to remember or feels boring, try herbal teas, water with a splash of lemon, or even flavored waters with no added sugar. All these small changes, eating better, sleeping well, staying socially connected, and keeping your mind active, they work together like a team. You don't have to be perfect at any one of them, but the more you pay attention to these areas, the more you'll notice your memory becoming sharper, your thoughts becoming clearer, and your overall mood improving. So far, we've talked about how mental inactivity, loneliness, poor sleep, and diet can quietly affect your brain health. And the beautiful thing is, with awareness and small, steady steps, we can start to reverse the damage and give our minds the care they deserve. Let's keep going, because there's still one more powerful habit to explore, one that often goes unnoticed, but has a big impact on how our brains age. A habit that often goes unnoticed, but has a big impact on how our brains age. And that habit is chronic stress. Now, you might be thinking, I'm retired, I don't even have a job to stress over anymore. But stress doesn't always come from a busy schedule or a long to-do list. Sometimes it comes from worry. Worry about your health, about loved ones, about finances, or just the state of the world. And when that worry becomes a daily companion, it quietly wears away at your memory. You see, stress floods the brain with a hormone called cortisol. In small amounts, cortisol can actually help us respond to challenges. But when it lingers, when we're feeling anxious or overwhelmed day after day, it starts to damage parts of the brain involved in memory, especially a little area called the hippocampus. That's the part that helps you remember names, dates, and where you left your glasses. Chronic stress also affects how well we sleep, how clearly we think, and even how motivated we feel to take care of ourselves. And all of that adds up. Over time, it creates a fog, a heaviness in the mind, that can make everything feel harder. But here's the uplifting part. You have more control over stress than you think. Even small, simple changes can help your body relax and recover. One of the easiest ways to begin is by simply breathing. That sounds silly, I know, we all breathe. But I mean really breathing. Slow, deep breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just 5 minutes a day of focused breathing can signal to your nervous system that it's safe to relax. And when your body relaxes, your brain gets a break from the cortisol, and healing begins. Another helpful tool is mindfulness. And no, you don't need to sit cross-legged on the floor or chant anything. Mindfulness just means paying attention to the present moment. That could be sipping your morning tea and noticing its warmth, or going for a short walk and listening to the birds, feeling the breeze on your skin. It's about bringing your mind home to now, instead of letting it race ahead to all the what ifs and maybes. Some people also find journaling helpful. Just writing down your thoughts, letting them out of your head and onto the page. It doesn't have to be fancy. Even a few lines a day can help you process what's on your mind and let it go. Talking to a friend, a counselor, or even a pet can do wonders, too. The important thing is that you're not carrying the weight alone. And let's not forget about laughter. Laughter is powerful medicine. It lowers cortisol, boosts mood, and actually improves memory. Watch a funny movie, call that one friend who always cracks you up, or just allow yourself to be silly sometimes. Life doesn't have to be so serious all the time. Now, before we wrap up, let's take a moment to reflect. We've talked about a lot: mental idleness, lack of connection, poor sleep, an unhealthy diet, and stress. Each of these habits can sneak into our lives quietly, without us even noticing. But here's what I want you to really take away from all of this. Just because something is common, doesn't mean it's harmless. And just because you've been doing something for years, doesn't mean you can't change it. Your brain is incredible. It has the ability to grow, adapt, and heal, even later in life. Science has shown that we can form new brain cells, strengthen memory, and even reverse cognitive decline by making consistent, healthy changes. That's why this matters, because you are not powerless. You are not stuck. You can start small, choose one thing today. Maybe it's calling a friend, or going for a walk, or skipping that extra cookie after dinner. These little choices add up, and each one sends a message to your brain. I'm still here. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional, giving your mind the same love and attention you'd give a garden. Water it, care for it, pull out the weeds now and then. And watch it bloom. Before we say goodbye, I want to thank you for spending this time with me. I hope this conversation has inspired you to take one step, just one, toward a healthier mind. And I'd love to hear from you. Have you noticed any of these habits in your own life? What changes have made a difference for you? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I read them all, and your words might help someone else, too. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more gentle, practical tips for living well after 60. There's so much life to enjoy, and your mind deserves to be part of every beautiful moment. Here's to clearer thoughts, better days, and living your best life at any age. You've got this.